It's 7 o'clock. Public comment? No public comment. We have an event application for Thanks for Giving 5K road race.
This is the one from Ted Carroll?
Yep.
This is the new form.
This is the new form that you've done for the, this is the new form that you did for the triathlon and also for the Rotary.
Yeah.
Although we're waiting, I think, for the Rotary to send in the final form. This is the same event that's been happening year over year. The only changes that are in here is there's extra police and extra paramedic support. The police and the fire unions, I believe, are contributing to covering a portion of those expenses as well. So they're donating out of the police unions and fire unions some funds to make this happen. I did get sign-off from the police, the fire department, Public Works, and then obviously Recreation and myself. Those are the only groups that need to be involved in this one.
So you have that, but we don't, the sign-off?
That's correct. So my recommendation is for the board to accept the event as proposed.
Okay, I want to note that they have a charitable partner, which is the Clark Chatterton Memorial Fund. So it's certainly a worthy cause.
And the recreation
And
department.
the rec, yeah.
So let's not think of ourselves.
Right.
What time does this start? I didn't,
10 a.m.
10,
or earlier. Let me see.
8 or 9? Well, it would be before the football game.
You know, it doesn't have the time
It doesn't
in
have
here.
the time
Doesn't
here.
have it, no.
I thought it was.
I'm pretty sure it's pretty early, and it might even
It's
be
45 minutes, and
It's
it's
45 minutes, but
Yeah, what's the start time?
when it starts, though. They have the time.
No, there's no space for,
You want me to go down and get one of their flyers? Do you have one handy? It's not on here because it will be on that front page.
I would think it's 9 o'clock. By the way.
I don't feel like we need it to approve it.
No, we don't
I'm
need to
willing to-
approve it. I just noticed it. That's all.
I hear
If I
you might
noticed
wanna-
it before, I would have
that's
checked.
it, Catch, you might wanna revise the.
Put the time, yeah, just.
Well, it
put-
says time, it's just.
So it's Thanksgiving
Setup
itself.
date
It's-
time and breakdown date time, but no time for the event.
It's earlier, isn't it, in
I
the
think it's
day?
early. It might be 9, something, 8:30 or 9 or something like that, because the game starts at 10, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, as I recall. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
7:30 a.m. start.
7:30. Oh, boy.
For God's sakes.
But that's
The
setup,
homecoming parties are just ending.
but that's different than the event time.
Okay.
Sorry.
So it's 7 a.m.
So I'll move it.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, 5-0. Okay, why don't we do some minutes?
Nice job with the minutes, by the way, Tracy.
I had a correction, and I gave
I have a
it
couple.
On the 22nd?
Yeah, do you have my 22nd? Yeah, it was, on page 2, under, motion for the triathlon. Actually, before that, I asked, Mr. Burnett, if the triathlon was nonprofit, and he said no, and I further asked how many participants, 900, and the cost 100 each. Then Mr. Burnett said he would extend an invitation to me to the next meeting at the pre-race. Okay? That's it, which I really would like to go. So,
The material in the
I wanted to
minutes.
make sure that.
Okay. Anything else?
I'll move them.
But as
I
amended,
second, we already, Diane
You
moved
already
it, and
did?
I seconded.
Yeah. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0. 29th.
I just had one small change, Tracy, on page 3, right at the top. Is 95K for the 1/2 employee, this is for the water department. And I think it was 50K for the design money and work.
I
What was
think
it,
the
was it
95
45 and, 95 is the total?
Total, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
95.
Could we break it down just because I read it wrong, and then maybe other people would? Thank you.
You can add
So it was
You could just do 95K and then like a colon,
colon.
half-time employee plus, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Tracy, did I send you a change?
Yes, and I fixed it. It was, Keston.
Okay, thanks.
Where is that?
Where
Yeah.
was this?
Oh, is it already
I
in
can't
attendance?
remember which minutes it was. That's all right. I'm looking.
Maybe the executive minutes?
No.
Okay. All right, well, I'll move the minutes of October 29.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
I didn't see that spelling,
Might have been something else.
usually. I don't.
Sorry.
November 5th.
Yeah, so moved.
Well, I just have one change. On page 2, under the Collins Center, line 9, oh, wait a minute, 9, line 10, where it says, Selectman Quigley would like to see resumes of candidates before the interviews. What I actually said was I'd like to see the resumes rated by each of us before the interviews, just even if it's just privately, so that we all have a feel for how the candidates rank on paper. Okay. Because obviously we'll have the resumes before. Okay.
Okay, anything else? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Do you know if they're here yet?
Maybe there's traffic.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Would you entertain taking something out of order?
Sure, yeah.
The vice chair had talked to you about sending a letter from the board, voted on by the board, to Senator Headland, asking to keep us apprised
Are they coming?
of the status of the 2 home rule petitions we have in front of them. Is that something, I mean, I think it's a fairly innocuous conversation. You want to take it up now?
Yeah, we can talk about it. I'm just wondering, should we amend the agenda to take it up? Because,
Just do it, make it clean.
Yes.
yeah, yeah, okay.
Definitely.
So,
I move that we amend the agenda to take up the topic of, the unexpected topic of sending a letter from the board to Senator Headland, urging him to take whatever action he can to move forward on clearing the 2 home rule petitions from the Senate.
okay, so I'm gonna put that in at 7:10. Any discussion on that motion?
Need a second.
Do we have a
Second.
second? Yeah. Any discussion? All those in favor of amending the agenda? Aye. Opposed? Okay, you negative?
I spoke against the amendment to the,
Right.
to the article, so in good conscience, while as a selectman I should support the vote of town meeting, I feel that I'd like to abstain from this vote.
Okay,
keep
this
in
is
mi-
just to amend the agenda
Yeah,
to
this
have
is-
a
Oh, to
discussion.
amend the agenda.
Yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's 5-0, amend the agenda, yeah.
And Karen, for what it's worth, this is an omnibus in that, well, you read whichever draft you'd like to represent. Okay, but there's a,
Oh, here it is.
Kobayashi's.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Kobayashi.
I,
but the long and the short of it is that it's to urge the passage of both bills. The other one is the sewer, the establishment.
Well, the sewer
of
bill,
sewage.
I'm in favor of, certainly.
Did you get
Did you get
I
the
got
email?
both, yeah, I got both of them. I mean, they both look fine to me, so you know,
It's,
I'm just wondering if it makes sense to split the motion, because it looks like you could have a unanimous vote on one bill, but like a 4 or something not unanimous on the other one.
Could I just read,
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
the numbers are different. This
Oh,
is what I wrote,
okay.
and I CC'd.
I wished we had this before. so
I'm sorry, because council had written to all of us, and then I
Oh,
just
didn't-
sent it to
didn't
Fred
I didn't get that from
it-
Fred.
with the hopes that he would
Oh,
bring
yeah.
it up tonight.
Yeah, okay. Because I'd like to consider it.
So what happens, we had an email from town council after the agenda was finalized, recommending that
Yeah,
we consider, because the Senate is going out of session, some type of note to them about
Yeah.
our bills.
that's okay.
So do you want to read this?
Yeah, so, and just so you know, that the part in parentheses I telled, I just, that was obviously subject to what happened tonight. But this is a letter to Senator Robert Hedlund, CC to Senate President Trace Murray, and I'll confirm the spelling of her name. On behalf of the Cohasset Board of Selectmen, I am writing to request, and I wrote this in the first person from Fred, request your immediate action prior to the end of the general court's formal session on 2 important home rule petitions for the town of Cohasset. Both were overwhelmingly approved by town meeting in April of 2013. H 3671, an act relative to the Cohasset Board of Sewer Commissioners, and H 3486, an act relative to the town manager in the town of Cohasset. Then I would propose that we would include the sentence, the Cohasset Board of Selectmen voted unanimously on November 13, 2013, to seek your assistance in advancing these bills prior to the close of the formal legislative session. We appreciate your diligence on behalf of the residents of Cohasset. Most sincerely, Fred Coed, Chairman, Cohasset Board of Selectmen.
You have an error in your letter. It's May, not April. Town meeting was in May.
Oh, sorry.
Town meeting
I
was
thought it
April
was
22nd.
No, yeah.
Elections were in May.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay.
they were-
One
And they
week-
both are
last
technically
year,
town
the year
meeting,
before
but-
was May then.
Yeah, the town
Okay,
meeting
Okay,
session was, and the
April.
town meeting
Say-
election was
Okay.
May, yeah.
May.
So is April of 2013
It's
Yeah,
okay,
accurate?
it's
yes.
all right.
Okay.
I stand corrected.
And just for clarification, if a member or a minority of the board does not vote to support the letter, you sending the letter in this behalf, I mean, you could simply amend the letter such that the Cohasset Board of Selectmen voted on November 13th.
Yeah, you could strike unanimously, yeah.
Yep,
I would
absolutely.
say voted in a majority, because voted implies unanimously.
Yeah,
What is, I think it means, it voted in,
Why don't you amend that sentence
the
based
affirmative.
upon the vote?
excuse me?
yes, yeah. We'll
what?
see, we'll see what the vote is.
You amend that
Yeah.
sentence
Yeah.
based upon the vote.
So, Fred, do you think it's more effective just coming from you as chairman representing the board?
Well, I think it works easier logistically, because it's got to get signed by either 5 of us or 1 of us. Yeah.
My biggest single concern beyond the Town Manager Act having taken as long as it has is understanding the wrinkle that could be very disruptive to development in the town if we don't get the sewer district passed. And both of them seem to have stalled out in the Senate. They've been there for now, 3.5 weeks, on their 3rd reading for 3.5 weeks. I'm not certain that Senator Hedlund can do anything to
No,
move it
I-
along.
He does have a problem, but I.
But the long and the
but
short of it is, I do
it
believe
should-
that we absolutely need to send our support forward, and especially as it regards to the sewer bill.
I believe the sewer bill hasn't even had readings,
Well,
but
the
now
s-
I've heard different things from
Yeah,
Senator Hedlund.
was the sewer bill was in there before, or was it the same time?
It couldn't,
I
it
can't-
couldn't, it couldn't go forward
Seemed like it
without
went up a little bit later, didn't it?
Had its hearing
Yeah.
later.
It had its hearing later, but
Later.
I think it went up pretty much at the same time because they both came out of
Yeah.
town meeting.
Yeah, now that I.
Okay, any other discussion?
No, I'm fully supportive of the sewer act, home rule petition. I do have issues as previously expressed regarding the revisions to the Town Manager Act, so I'm uncomfortable in voting for the letter as it presently is.
So if we just amended the letter to say the Cohasset Board of Selectmen voted on November 13th, 2013, to seek your assistance in advancing these bills prior to the close of the formal legislative session. And that would stay, assuming we get a vote here that's affirmative, whether it's 5-0, 4-1, 3-2.
I would be much more comfortable if it said the Cohasset Board of Selected voted unanimously in support of H 3671 and in a majority of H 3486.
I think that's sending mixed messages on behalf of the residents of Cohasset who voted overwhelmingly at town meeting, but,
Why don't you make them 2 letters?
Yeah, if we write, just separate, divide the letters, and so let's take a vote on this H 3671 sewer.
so could I just clarify that, what I'll do
Yeah.
to this letter is change it to say, I'm writing to request your immediate action prior to the end of the general court's formal session on an important home rule
Yeah.
petition, singular, for the town of Cohasset.
Yeah, and then just divide the one with one bill, one the other.
And I'll say, an act relative to the Cohasset Board of Sewer Commissioners was overwhelmingly approved by town meeting in April.
I think you'll be able to say
2013.
unanimous there, right?
Unanimous.
Well, we haven't voted
We
yet,
haven't
but.
voted.
No,
Regular
you're
vote.
talking
I'm
about town
talking the
meeting.
first
Oh,
paragraph.
yeah, okay, yeah.
So instead of saying both
Yeah.
were, because I'm only referencing one in this
Yes,
one
yeah,
first
yeah.
letter, I'll just say, an act relative to the Cohasset Board of Sewer Commissioners was overwhelmingly approved by town meeting, and actually, I think it was unanimously approved. And then it will say, an act relative to the Cohasset Board of Sewer Commissioners, pulled out, and then it'll say the Cohasset Board of Selectmen voted unanimously on November, or assuming that's what happens,
Yeah.
on November 13th, 2013, to seek your assistance in advancing this bill. Prior to the close of the formal legislative session, we appreciate your diligence on behalf of the residents of Cohasset.
Okay, so the letter referencing H 3671, the sewer, all those in favor? Wait a minute, do we have a motion on it?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 5-0. Do we have a motion on the letter for H 3486, the Town Manager Act,
Which will read the similarly.
but not unanimous, yeah,
Right.
or whatever
We
the
have
vote
bill.
is, yeah.
The vote.
Yes,
Yeah.
so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
4-1. Okay,
Okay.
very good. Thank you.
I'll print those, Fred, tonight, or I'll email them to you tonight to sign.
Yeah, do you have to stay, they probably should go to Mike, just have them prepared stationery down here, and then I'll come in and sign it as soon as they're ready. Okay?
Email them to Tracy and she'll print them right out.
They'll
Yeah.
be ready as soon as I get home.
Okay? Thank you.
Tracy.
Okay, so, you're welcome.
Appreciate you changing around the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Dick, we're all set. How you doing?
With bated breath.
Well, good to see you.
Same here.
Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you.
Thanks for coming.
Hi, Dick. Nice to see you again.
How are you?
Hey, Dick, how are you? Good to see you.
It was the height of the summer
Yeah.
when I last saw you.
Now it's winter.
Summer has gone. Where did it go?
We're in socks now. Yeah.
Just by way of introduction, I didn't have television.
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, there's a camera here and one behind you, so they switch back and forth, so.
Maybe I should just introduce myself and recap
Sure.
what we're
Take
doing
your
here,
time, yeah.
what we've done.
That would be great.
Just for the record, my name is Richard Kobayashi. I'm Senior Associate with the Collins Center for Public Management at UMass Boston. The center was hired by the Board of Selectmen during the summer to assist it in the search for candidates for the town manager position. Do we have stuff going on over here that?
No, you're good.
WATD.
fine.
That's
All
the
right.
radio
Ignore that,
guy,
okay.
yeah.
Anyway, our job was to assist the town in identifying candidates for the town manager position. During the summer, we prepared, and with some refinements, the board approved a profile of the town and the position, and based on that profile, we have conducted a recruitment. Just to remind members of the board and members of the public, our task is not to pick the next town manager. Our task is to make sure that that this board has a solid pool of candidates that are generally consistent with the requirements that they approved in the profile. My purpose here tonight is to deliver the pool of candidates to the board. But since the board doesn't, since you can't see the memorandum, maybe I'll just tick off the names and short description of what these people have been doing, and then hand out the packets and see if the board has any questions.
Great.
I don't understand what you mean by can't see the memorandum.
The people watching on television can't see the
No.
memorandum.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay. Thank you.
we have 5 candidates, and these are in alphabetical order. The first candidate is William DeLibero, who served as town administrator in Charlestown, Rhode Island, from 2009 to 2012. The next candidate is Stephen Hartford, who was town manager of Westerly, Rhode Island, from 2009 to 2013. The next candidate is Timothy King. He's currently assistant town manager in Wellfleet, Massachusetts, a position he's served in since 2011. He previously served for 13 years as the town manager of Ellsworth, Maine. The next candidate is Grady Miller, who was town manager of Narragansett, Rhode Island, from 2010 to 2012, and previously worked for over 20 years for the city of Peoria, Arizona, as that city went through a period of extremely rapid growth. And the last candidate we have to present is Christopher Senior, who is currently deputy town supervisor for the town of North Hempstead, New York, a position he has held since 2004. Just in the New York State system, town supervisor is the elected head of the town, and the deputy town supervisor is the de facto chief of staff. So the language there is a little bit different. So,
I didn't get all the names.
so that's a summary of the candidates. I have a packet with this cover memo I've read from, and all of the resumes for each of you. And
Thank you.
Thank you. Oops, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Want questions?
well, you may want to peruse the cover memo.
Maybe while we're perusing, you could review the process that you went through for the viewers, for the people. I'm sorry, Mr.
That's
Chair.
all right, yeah.
Well, when the profile was really quite straightforward. When the profile was completed, we advertised and activated our network, did some outreach. And when the applications closed, we talked to folks and came up with a short list, which originally was 6 people, and checked the references and performed background checks. As a consequence, we have the pool here, so there's no mystery about it. The sixth person withdrew because he obtained another job.
Did you interview any of these people one-on-one, or was it all pretty much phone, email communications with the candidates?
We've talked to all of them.
Okay.
I mean, I have certainly talked to all of them, at least by telephone. And we have people who work at the Collins Center who've had face-to-face conversations with each of them.
How many of these, Richard, were results of your recruiting them from existing jobs, which was one of the things that you were pointing out that you sought to do? I mean, as a result of your recruitment from people who were happily ensconced with where they are.
Well, we're in a, probably one was a result of outreach or persuasion. By circumstance, if I'm counting right, four of the five are in the market for jobs, having been recently employed as managers, but not currently employed. It's in the nature of the profession.
So the curious,
And you know, there's a lot of Rhode Island here. I can't explain it. I think it's a little bit to do with geography. Cohasset is on the south side of Boston, and more to do with happenstance than anything else.
the Rhode Island jumped out at me, but the real thing that jumped out at me was the fact that there's only one of these finalists from Massachusetts. You know, I just wonder whether there was any kind of reluctance from people in Massachusetts.
I
Sure you're reaching out.
didn't. We didn't get any.
How- yeah.
We didn't get that sense.
What was the pool of applicants?
24. 24 was the total number of applicants.
May I, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
I have to ask out of curiosity, but I realize it's not an answer that I know. But is there a reason, if the current acting town manager was an applicant, that he's not part of the finalists?
Yeah, it's not something that I can address. Perfectly reasonable question. Our policy is that applications that we receive, we have to maintain confidentiality.
Fair enough.
The applicant, any applicant can, be as public as they wish.
Fair enough.
Chairman, can I?
Yeah.
May I ask just
Sure.
I don't know, if I'm kind of asking everybody, including Mr. Kobayashi, just in terms of, I have a lot of questions about kind of next steps going forward, and I don't know if you're willing and able to address some of those with us?
No, to the extent that I can be helpful, I'm happy to.
Yeah. And this is just, I'm sort of talking out loud, although I had an epiphany today. That one of the things I did was I went back and all of my files from the previous town manager search and the interviews and the grids and the questions that we asked and everything. And we were thinking about discussing tonight, and I was a little persistent, or have been persistent in the past couple of weeks about coming up with an interview protocol that we could all share. But I'm having second thoughts, and I would love your opinion on this, about actually having us have this conversation about questions right now, in anticipation of the first interview likely being sometime next week. Would it be better? And I think what we did the last time around was we met let's say an interview was at 4, we literally met at 3, or, you know, an hour beforehand and said, I want to ask this question, so that it's not out there in the public realm what we're going to ask these folks.
Can't do that.
First of all, maybe about a week or 10 days ago, I sent a guidance memo, so
Right.
which,
Right.
which tried to, at least in writing, make some suggestions and
Yes.
included some suggested questions and some approaches you might think about. So you have that.
I've read it, yep,
Uh,
taking notes.
Let me make a couple of observations about interviewing generally. You really want to get to know the candidates, and you want to have them have an opportunity to get to know this board and this town. One of the things that is not optimal is you march, without any preparation. You kind of march candidates before this board for 75-minute sessions, and
Right.
I've always found that it's better, the conversation with somebody, a candidate at this table and the board, is better if the person has been able to gain some familiarity with the town. Whether that's, meeting in a conference room for a while with key or all department heads, so they can say, hey, what's it really like and what makes this place tick, and or whether you afford an opportunity for some one-on-one conversation between the candidate and some key operational people. What it does is it arms a candidate who's a professional in this business to have a much higher level conversation with this board when they get here. It's not for the purpose of dragging the department heads into the selection and evaluation process. It's people are familiar with the terrain. They're going to have a better conversation with you. But this is such a public process that employees and others and members of boards and commissions or whatever are going to form at least impressionistic views of the candidates as they have some dialogue. But your time is really precious. I mean, you got lots of other business to attend to. This is a very important decision. It's better if your conversations with the candidates are at least prepared to some degree. You're going to prepare by thinking about questions. The candidate's going to be better if they've gained some familiarity. There's a water commissioner, a sewer commissioner, and there's pipes in part of the town, but not all of the town. And I was in a situation like that
Well, and
two jobs ago. But if they don't have that exposure, they can't rise to that level.
Right.
So I think a little investment fashioned in a way that's comfortable to the town and comfortable to this board will help you get to know the candidates better. And one of the things you look at is who here is a quick read on us, on our town, and if there's hasn't been a chance for any information gathering, it's kind of hard for people to show their stuff.
Sure.
And then of course some people don't get stuff as well as others, and you want to be able to discern that. So I think that's a worthy investment.
Did you give any of these finalists the town report or any material about Cohasset?
Just the profile, and we used to do that, but since almost all of that material is on every town's website now, it's handing the material is less important.
Well,
than
it's
it-
just
than
that
it
it
used to
gives
be.
a little background too.
Mhm,
That's what I was
yeah.
thinking. So how do you suggest we do that?
I'm sorry.
Have you a suggestion how we do that to get familiar before we interview them?
Well, first of all, the dates of availability of the candidates based on your schedule are included, I think, in the last paragraph or next to the last paragraph.
Yeah.
Of the memo, and I think that, you know, and if you want to keep to those dates, time is kind of short. You know, I mean, the simplest methodology. I haven't thought about this a lot. That you know, if presumably you're going to chat with 2 people a day, you know, you can arrange a meeting or some kind of exchange with the key department actors, at 12, 1 o'clock for an hour and 15 minutes with candidate A, and repeat that at 3 o'clock for candidate B, and these people can get a little air and a little time to walk around the town before they talk to you. This is public. You don't have to keep the candidates apart from each other in sealed cubicles.
No.
Because it's inherently a public process, and some of these people, not all of them, will know each other professionally. So I just wouldn't worry about that part at all. If it's two interviews and 1 interview, that's 5 discrete blocks with a parcel of department heads and a little time to walk around the town and go to the library and whatever. At least that gives you a start. When you get further down the road, if you've talked to 5 people, it's not uncommon that people develop a high degree of comfort with a couple people, conspicuously higher degree of comfort with just, say, a couple of people. It's perfectly reasonable to bring people back for deeper conversations. And we've all been through, our own job searches, first interview and second interview and final interview. And one suggestion that I have that I think is kind of important is that when you get down to 1 or 2 candidates, it's not a bad idea to have a deputation of the board, at a minimum, but maybe other people from the town, go on a field visit and visit the place where somebody has been working, and talk to your peers on the board or council, and talk to department heads, and talk to the newspaper reporter, and we've checked references, but you're going to learn a lot more by making a due diligence visit, because you're going to see things from a particular angle of view, and you're going to read the community that they come from, as well as the reputation, and you're going to form your own impressions, and your initial impressions may be corroborated or not corroborated. But I think it's important to take your time and go slowly, and that's the thing I suggested. Just on references and background checks. Yes, we've checked references. Yes, we've performed background checks. Just remember that the Collins Center can never prove that Dick Kobayashi never did anything wrong. A negative is an impossible thing to prove.
Right.
You go through reasonable due diligence, and you talk to knowledgeable people, and you listen carefully. So some of this is about doing your own due diligence and trusting your bones. The other thing that I want to say, and this occurs in every recruitment that we do, beware of the Google effect. All the candidates are going to be Googled by yourselves, or members of the community, or whatever. Don't believe everything that Google throws up. And if there is a particular issue that somebody's been involved in that raises some concern or is sometimes just puzzling, ask them about it. And the reliability of Google was made clear to me when someone said to me once, Dick, did you ever Google yourself? Or did you ever Google a meeting that you went to? And what do you think about the level of accuracy about what you read? I said, oh, well, yeah. So there is bona fide news reporting out there, but it's also important to, just, we're living in that age, just deal with that with some degree of balance. And if there's a specific question, ask the go direct. Is my advice. I think all these people are expecting to be called for an interview. I think they all have something significant to offer the town of Cohasset. Everybody who you're going to interview is making a contribution because each candidate serves as a measuring stick for all of the other candidates. I think, this is sort of self-congratulatory, but I think you have a pretty good group of people to talk to.
Can you, I don't know if you can even do this,
No, ask any question you
can
want.
you sort of summarize what you feel the strength of the pool is, what it represents? I mean, are we looking, and we're gonna investigate this, obviously, when we interview and do some searching, but do you feel like these are people who are experienced managers of human personnel, or are they, is it more, these are people that know how to build things, fix things, solve things? And can you even do that, answer that question?
They're all adults.
That's good.
They're all, excuse me?
I said, that's a step in the right direction.
They're all professionally trained. And experienced in this kind of work. They've all seen some bumps in the road in their career as their communities have changed and have been caught up in the dynamics of the changing political character of communities that they've worked in. I mean, I would say they're all seasoned people in the public administration world. And I guess that's the common characteristic. Different jurisdictions, different states, different scales. So I think question comes up a lot about the utility and importance of Massachusetts experience. And it's very, very handy to have. But the management, the leadership, the administrative skills, the interpersonal and communication skills trump that any day of the week. You kind of have a building here filled with people who know the Massachusetts way of doing things by statute, rule, and regulation. And typically, once a person has been through, the annual budgetary and municipal cycle once, you're pretty much familiar with what's required. We get the question with some frequency, well, what about town meeting? And the people we deal with who've come here from out of state and where there's no town meeting said, actually it's not that different. It does what every legislative body does. It appropriates money, it passes law, it authorizes land transactions. The only difference is I don't know who's showing up. when I had a council, I could count the votes before the meeting. Now I have to sort of, works a different way. But that's what the managers who come here from out of state have essentially said. It's unfamiliar till you go through it the first time. And usually, you know, there's the moderator and there are selectmen, and there are lots of people around who know how this this particular system works. But they all say, you know, I thought it was going to be different, but it's actually not that different. So I think those interpersonal and communication and technical skills are really the important thing here.
What's the form of government in Rhode Island, do you know, since we have a
It's
few?
almost exclusively city council.
Okay,
And it's city council
Even in
elected
little
on a partisan basis.
wow, excellent.
They run as Rs and Ds.
Like national politics?
Big R,
Republicans and
big R,
Democrats?
big D.
Wow,
So,
interesting.
now in some communities in Rhode Island, that looms large. In other places, it's really not a factor.
sure, wow.
But that's the general form there.
Very interesting.
And this gentleman from New York, they don't have, do they have town government up there, town meetings?
They have a council.
They have a council also. Well, a lot of towns now are having councils here. We're moving away, aren't we, in Massachusetts?
It's a trend, but it's not
It's strong.
not a rapid trend.
Well, nothing's rapid in Massachusetts.
Or anywhere in government.
No, no.
I have the materials that I gave you in electronic form,
Mhm.
and maybe I should just give it the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Crazy.
Everything that's in the packet is on this.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I am particularly familiar with the whole Rhode Island area because my whole, all my ancestors came from there, and I've done a lot of walking, going around there doing research, and talked with town government down there, but that was about 10 years ago, so.
We may be road tripping back down there.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a very interesting area, and the people are very similar to, I think, the area in our South Shore. Yeah. So,
Well, it's a small state, and it's
I know,
close.
I know, I know, I'm very familiar. Yeah.
We'll be, you know, if, you know, in a major way, I mean, most of our work is done as of tonight, but we're certainly available by telephone or email for consultation, or if you want us to, you know, you've decided on a particular approach and you want to critiqued or commented on or whatever. I mean, I'm just a telephone call away. So, you know, don't hesitate to call if you feel like it's the right thing to do.
And as far as the questions go, once we divvy up the questions, they should be asked in the same order through each interview.
It's
Exactly.
important, I mean, typically, I mean, we recommend allowing 75 minutes, and it's not, and in 75 minutes, once you ask an opening question, you know, tell us a little bit about yourself, and you have a closing question, and you say, do you have any questions, and we like to make a closing comment. You know, it's hard to get in more than five or six questions, especially if you want it to be conversational and you want to allow some give and take, and you want to allow for follow-up clarifying questions. So you really want to choose your questions carefully, and each question is typically about, you know, exploring a particular area of expertise or experience. You really shouldn't ask questions that are highly specific to Cohasset, because the person doesn't have enough data to make an intelligent answer. You know, if you've got a particular kind of HR problem, you can't say, what would you do in our situation, X, Y, Z, but you can say, well, what's your experience solving collective bargaining or HR problems, or have you had much experience in litigation in that area, or, you know, something to draw out the way the person thinks. But I think it's not uncommon for people to settle on their questions at an hour before the first interview. Usually doesn't take because what the questions are really about, selecting a few major areas you want to probe. It's not the wordsmithing of the question. It's not a deposition. The questions are conversation starters.
Hopefully.
Now you can ask a question, and if you don't get the answer that you want, you might need to ask a follow-up question. Or if someone didn't hear the question right, the right thing to do is interrupt them before they use up too much airtime, because you can't get the airtime back later.
Right.
It can be important for a member of the board to bring an egg timer or a watch or something, and because sometimes question number 3 eats up so much time, and either the members of the board or the candidate gets so engaged that you squeeze out time that you wanted to reserve for questions number 4, 5, or 6. So sensitivity about time is important in the interview process. And the other thing I guess is pretty obvious is leave some time between the interviews. You have 2 interviews on one day, leave a half an hour or leave 45 minutes between. You're going to need a break. And it also leaves you a way to extend the conversation with a candidate if that's the preference. That's the preference of the board.
Just in looking at these really quickly, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but 3 out of the 5 have law degrees. Do you know if any of them have practiced as
Have
attorneys?
practiced or
Yes.
are practicing?
Good for you. Have. Or are.
I think they've all practiced
Okay.
in some degree. I know Steve Hartford has. He was the town solicitor in Westerly, Rhode Island.
Okay, good.
I think the other 2 have used their knowledge of the law in their work. Whether they were in private practice, I can't quite remember. There are quite a few town administrators, town managers that have law degrees, and I have yet to find one who has any interest in being the town's attorney.
Yeah.
No, they all say the same thing. No, I'm good. I'm happy to be a principal,
That doesn't surprise me.
not the lawyer. But sometimes people with that particular skill are very good, framing questions to the town's attorney and working as a professional colleague.
Okay. I know when you were here before, we had talked about a grid, some way of keeping a score. And I know at that time, and you reiterated again this evening, how important the intangibles are, which we can't really format on a grid or scale on a grid. But how do you, that's just as you say, go with your gut, go with your bones, or?
Well, it's really more like a jury process. You take in the data and you process it, and you share your views with your colleagues, and somebody sees something that you didn't see, and you just said, oh yeah, that's a good point. I missed that one, or they see something that you didn't see, and you say, well, yeah, they saw it, but I didn't see it, and I don't think it's important.
Right.
You know, so, you know, it's kind of like, not so different than being around the family dinner table. And, you know, the person's gonna be 6 feet away. It's kind of an intimate exchange. You know, this is about engagement and listening, and in a lot of ways, what the person should be doing is modeling the behavior that they will exhibit once appointed.
Mm.
And in a way, as they look at you, they're gonna think you're doing the same thing.
They'll be sizing us
So,
up, yeah.
so, you know, 'cause it's a bilateral, exercise, and you want everybody to be forthright and honest and direct, and,
I especially like that analogy of it being a jury process. That clicks in my brain very well. Thank you.
except the jury's not gonna be in a closed room all by itself.
No, the process, the process, the discussion, the give or take, rather than just a straight, you know, this person gets 3 points for this and 2 points for that, and so their total is 10, and the other person's total is 7, and.
Just to be clear, you suggest that each of the candidates spend some time with department heads. Essentially, I think you're talking about drivers of the daily drivers of municipal government. Is that right? As a matter of socializing themselves with the community?
Yeah, socializing or familiarizing, with the view that they will be better prepared to have a knowledgeable exchange with the board. And I think that can be accomplished without a whole lot of effort, you know, same day, and so it's kind of a scheduling thing, and it's a little bit of explaining to the department head cadre what the purpose is, so there's not a lot of confusion, but it's really having a conversation. You know, having a conversation. You can't have. I mean, there's too many people. You can't have an hour with everybody. So, so you tend to figure out how to group these things, and sometimes you know, sometimes not every department head can make it at every slot, but they need enough so you get an aggregate feel. And if it's important to work into that mix, some of the folks from the important boards and committees, that's okay. That's okay too. I'm gonna have, if I come in here, the more familiarity I have with the people of the town and the issues that are faced, and I'm going to talk to 10 people, and it's going to be an hour and 15 minutes, and maybe over coffee in a conference room. I'm going to get impressionistic data and a little feel for the folks.
Well, especially when it works.
But that's a whole lot better than nothing.
Right.
That's a quantum leap from walking in cold.
So, do you think they have been visiting anonymously the community already?
I'm not aware of that.
No. Well, they wouldn't say, maybe.
Yeah, they might tell me. I mean,
Yeah.
but we have pretty candid relationships. But they've all been advised that the roster would be embargoed until tonight, and people would be inclined to respect that, and not show up and say, by the way, I'm a candidate, you know, what's life really like here? You know, that would be exactly the wrong thing, you know. Did somebody come and hang out on a Saturday afternoon at the municipal library? Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Would you, getting back to Steve's question, of speaking with the department people, the employees, and maybe some of the committee people, do you have a preference one way or the other? I mean, I'm sort of thinking in my mind, there are two options here, speed dating and department head meetings, or, so one would be a one-on-one for a very short period of time, and the other would be maybe a group meeting.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
I mean, I guess, I get my bias would be toward a group meeting, because I'd want to get want to get a feel for how the managerial cadre functions, and what people tell me in words and what they tell me in body language. I know they're all laying eyes on me at the same time, and if I'm a seasoned municipal manager, that'd be a comfortable environment for me. If you want to do stuff one-on-one, and I don't think speed dating's, I just don't think you can have a conversation while you're looking at your watch.
No.
I'm inclined to agree with you, but I wanted to ask the question.
If you have a couple of people, if you have a couple, 3 people who are coming back, and you want to know more about them, you can give them the opportunity to learn more about the town in a second iteration. If after the first exchange you all fall in love with the same person, then you don't really need so much of a second round. But that's not that common a phenomena. Start in a coherent way, and it's a self-revealing process. And you might need to bring a few people back, and they might need and want to lay eyes on more Cohasset people, and more Cohasset people may want to lay eyes on them. And when you get a little further down the road, you may need to rent a school bus and go visit a couple of places. Now, I don't want to say you have to do all of those things, but if it might feel like the right thing to do as you go forward. What you need is going to be self-revealing as much as anything else. The one thing that's sure is you want to take your time, and you want a good outcome.
Well, I would just like to, I'm sure we're not quite finished yet, but for myself to thank you and Mary and everybody who worked on it, for bringing the candidates forward to us. And I have the confidence that the candidates that you brought forward are all professionals, and it's a matter of us determining which ones are the best fits for the board and for Cohasset.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure working for the town. I wish you well, and once again, please call if something comes up.
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you.
I wasn't dismissing you, I was just,
Oh,
No,
I was just expressing my thoughts. No?
Yeah, well, I certainly appreciate all the work you've done, having done a lot of this, but not for a town manager. It's a difficult process, but it once you get into setting up how you do it, it just flows right along. You manage to come with a good result.
Mr. Chairman, are we all?
Ditto.
I think we're all set. Does anybody have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Okay. Okay, so,
Some of these gentlemen are only available certain days, so I think
I
we work
noticed that.
around that.
Yep.
Just to start the conversation, I did this spreadsheet of kind of looking at our next week.
Okay.
We got two down there. The big thing is we have
Got it.
on Tuesday at 7:05 PM, we have that tax classification hearing. So,
That was this week.
No,
it's next week,
week.
yeah. So, and, this, obviously, we're not gonna use all these slots, but I wanted to kind of have something to begin the discussion with, and basically, his original Saturday schedule was, an hour and 15 minutes for an interview with 15-minute breaks for, I think, up to 5, so, so this does start a little bit early in the day. I think we definitely have one that can only occur on Wednesday, right?
Right.
So the question is, do we want to try to do like a 2, 2, and 1 or something like that, or?
Well, just backing up a little bit, I don't know whether we can build sort of an hour into the schedule before these interview slots.
That's
to-
where the organization part is, and,
Okay.
and I only have a half hour there,
Okay.
and I didn't know which day it would work, but we could
Okay.
extend that to an hour if we wanted. But so the 3:30 to 4 would have been just, and would probably only need it, or we could have it each day if we needed to do something more organizationally, but I think it makes the most sense to book an hour and,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of just in terms of bringing the candidates in and giving them the opportunity to meet with department heads or
okay,
however
so
we decide.
as they were talking, let's say,
You want to start with Wednesday since we have a
Yeah,
candidate that
yeah,
we
so-
can
so
like identify as
what,
a Wednesday?
the way I think I see it working, like, see that second slot there,
Mhm.
whoever came in then could be meeting with the department heads on the first slot.
Right.
You follow?
Right.
So it'd be like two, like, this looks like just one slot, but we could fit that in by just having them, anytime they're in a slot, be meeting with the department heads in that slot before it.
The
Which
only-
means they could have to start early if we were gonna start right at 4 on any of these
Right,
days.
if we were
Yeah,
going to load
yeah.
somebody on the other end.
No.
Well, let me ask a question. Is it too much to try to do 5 in one day?
I think
You wanna
get
split it
one-
up?
you
Yeah,
get-
okay.
you
Yes.
really
So minimum
should,
2 days, okay.
because you want to be relaxed with
Yeah.
each one. It depends on the level. If it wasn't town manager, you could do it, but I think
Yeah.
at this level,
In the letter, it says the other 3 candidates are available on all of the evenings. So, and he says for interview on the evening of the November 18th.
the other camera.
So,
I think we do need, especially where they're coming from out of
Yeah,
town. or
Yeah,
far,
so, well,
all of
we could
them.
use the later slots then and kind of forget about the earlier ones.
Or
Except,
to propose, to them, can you come at 4, and you'll be interviewed at 7, then maybe you'll go meet with the department heads, maybe somebody will, I don't know, take you for a sandwich before you have an interview. You know what I mean?
I think that if you're going to incorporate, or if we're going to incorporate the interaction with department heads, committees, et cetera, boards, then I think it needs to be proposed to that candidate so that they understand what their time commitment is going to be here.
oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And proposed in such a way that says, here is the schedule for your interview. We anticipate that you'll arrive at 4, meet for about an hour and a half with, and identify the folks and what they do, what their roles are. Take about a 15-minute break, and at which point you'll meet with the Board of Selectmen for an interview at, again, a specific time that meets within the schedule. At least at that point, they have an understanding of what they're coming to. We also have an understanding what they will have done up to that point. It's a very good point, by the way. Given the time of day, if it fits and it's appropriate, it wouldn't hurt to have 1 or 2 or 3 of the department heads simply take them to one of our finer eating establishments, maybe down to Victoria's, for a sandwich. But seriously,
Yeah.
Just so it's
they've
fair.
come a long way.
Get a feel for the community, yeah.
Yeah, plus they've come a long way. You don't want them starving to death in the midst of an interview. And at the same time, by that point, they will have had at least a chance to gain some insight or an understanding of what the rhythms of the community feel like.
And vice versa. I mean, you can tell a lot when you're sitting down, just having a relaxed conversation with somebody, not necessarily one of us, but somebody else that is a stakeholder here, and then sitting across
Right.
a table, feeling pressured. So I think that,
So a way to do that is to, since we know that there are 4 candidates that have a relatively free schedule.
3, actually. There is another one that cannot meet on Tuesday.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. So you've got 3 that can meet any day,
right,
1 that can only meet Wednesday, and 1 that cannot meet Tuesday.
right.
So we could actually have 2 Monday, 1 Tuesday, and 2 Wednesday. And you know Mr. Senior is only available Wednesday, so then it's a matter of simply making contact and arranging to fill in those appropriate slots.
The unknown here is the availability of the department heads.
Right,
That's what I was gonna say.
understandably, and unfortunately, I think at some point, we have to turn that back to our acting town manager and staff to help us to put together a process. Not all the department heads are going to be available, I imagine, for all of the candidates. So we probably ought to start thinking about representative presentations. It may only be groups of, 4 or 5 at any given time, but hopefully each of those department heads or senior staff members, and again, I think we ought to be talking to the school superintendent somewhere in here. Each of them should have a representation throughout the candidate pool. So, you will, or we will have the benefit, and they will have the benefit of a cross-section of different personalities to intersect with.
So the issue of
building time.
building this in does tend to move it a little bit towards the 5 PM slot for department heads, so,
So if we, I was even
yeah.
thinking, I mean, except for Tuesday where town hall is open later. But did we say that might be a time to do 2 people? Because you have department heads here for a
Oh,
period
they're
of
there
time.
later,
And,
yeah, yeah.
the gentleman from New York is the one who's can only come
Right.
that
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah. So that would,
That does make Tuesday
No,
more
he's on the
optimal for
he's on the
two
20th.
instead of 1
no,
because
he's
it's
on the
open late.
20th.
We can take 15 minutes
Yeah.
for a tax hearing. Might be fun for them to watch us in action.
Well, again, keep in mind, though, that if you take Mr. Kobayashi's recommendation at face value, I just want to make sure we're all clear on this.
Yeah.
As I was. He's proposing that that the candidates meet with department heads in advance of meeting with us.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Just
yeah,
to make sure that
That's
Tuesday
right.
we can stage that appropriately.
yeah.
Well, I was just thinking there might be more opportunity for doing that where town hall is open later on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's,
And you can back the schedule up too to, maybe
Right.
somebody could come at 2. I mean, if they're
Yeah,
gonna be.
they can come earlier.
If they
and-
can come
yeah.
early, that
Then
would
you
be,
get the
that would
staff.
be great.
Right.
I to a degree, I mean, I still have to go out and produce an income for the,
No, not,
But we don't
no,
have to be
no, we
here.
don't have to be there,
That's
just,
my
Oh,
point
okay.
for the
Yeah.
staff.
No,
Yeah.
not us. It's,
Right.
they're
all right.
doing things on kind of their own with our town employees. That's our boards.
So if we
yeah.
build an hour
Yeah.
with department heads, or 45 minutes, or like
Well,
50 minutes, and then.
well, if we
thinking
use the
that-
hour and 15-minute slots on everything with a 15-minute break, then they have an hour and 15 minutes, 15-minute break, and then an hour and 15 minutes, and then everything slots in nice, no matter where.
The only other thing I'll try to
Yeah.
add to the mix is, beyond just meeting with the department heads, and I'm not quite sure how we'd accomplish this, but geographically not a large town, but pretty interesting one. It wouldn't hurt to
Show them
give
the
them a little,
goods.
give them a little truck around.
Hmm.
As a, as a manager, show them the good and the bad. Here are the pretty houses, okay?
And here are the
Here-
prettier houses.
Here are the seawalls that are crumbling,
Yeah,
okay? Here are the schools we just rebuilt. Here's the town hall that's falling down. Okay, and I
Yeah,
mean that very
yeah.
seriously. Look, I mean, it gives you, it will give anybody coming in a very quick view of both the assets and the potential liabilities that they're going to be anticipated to work on.
right. I think Mr. Kobayashi's point was the longer they are in conversation and familiarized with the town, the better off our conversation's gonna be.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that was the thought
Yeah,
process behind
yeah.
it.
Yep. I bet the chiefs could take them on a little tour, you know.
Put them in the back of that new dump truck. They're all good.
What about the Hummer?
It won't go anywhere. Just you sit at the DPW looking out the window.
It's like a fish tank.
When I was involved in hiring superintendent of schools, we put candidates on a school bus and gave them a tour of the town.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we had the bus driver and some other people doing things, and we could do something like that with a small,
Yeah, we have the town vehicles, whether
we have the
it's
town vehicles.
chief's car or the elder affairs.
The other
Yeah.
areas would
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
work really well.
Mm-hmm,
I like that idea, Martha.
yeah.
So, do we want to try to accomplish the schedule tonight?
I think so, because,
So you're really gonna do,
yeah, I mean, we need to kind of like flesh
to
this
do it.
out and then figure out how we staff getting it accomplished.
Look, and again, a suggestion might be to simply identify the slots
Yeah,
that we need to fill, given that the candidates have indicated their general availability or lack of it on
We
a
could
given
make this
day.
a,
Put those in that we know,
Staff slot.
Mr. Senior, can only go on Wednesday.
yeah.
So slot them in. And then identify the remaining slots available. And let's just say no more than 2 interviews on a given day.
I think that Mr. Senior, we'd have to have him on the 20th, because if he comes back only on the 18th.
He's
He's
not
only
in
available
town.
the 20th.
He's out of the
he's
country.
only- Yeah, well, I was just
it could go something
reading
like
that he's
this,
out of the country.
the first one could be a staff slot,
Yeah,
and then that would be candidate number 1, staff slot, candidate number 1, interview slot. At the same time as number 1 interview slot, as you were saying, would be candidate 2, staff slot. Does
Yeah.
that
You
make
could have,
sense?
Yeah.
yeah, you could
To
put,
do it that way?
You
I
could-
think that's what you were saying.
right, yeah. So that wherever the interview was, there would be meeting with the staff before that in
Yeah.
that slot, yeah.
because
So
you
so
could,
then the question was, do we want to work a tour in front of that? In other words, so they're doing a tour,
Well,
a department head thing, and then the interview.
I think if
I mean, that would be ideal, but one final observation is it doesn't work after 4 PM.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, yeah.
no, it doesn't.
I mean, it's something that, we could invite them to come and, I mean, I know it's not as informative if you have a tour guide, but, to come and just
You
see the
really
town
have to-
before
you
the
have to have
interview. and,
somebody in the
You know, they
town.
might wanna come the weekend before and spend some time getting to know the town.
I think it's absolutely worthwhile to extend the invitation, and if they are coming, let's figure out how to
Find
assign
somebody,
them.
right.
How to assign someone to chauffeur them
Yeah,
around
yeah.
a bit.
Right.
Well,
Um,
as you said though, Steve, it gets dark early, so.
No, that's the point.
That's- it's
It's
like-
gotta be done, if they're going to come for that. I mean, yes, I would like to make it part of the interview process. I would like to. But given the timing,
Yeah,
you know, we may not be able to accomplish it. But I think it is important to be, for them to see the community that they're looking at bringing on. I mean, think about it. North Hempstead, Long Island is a very big community, 226,000 residents. So that's a big change. But yet, many of the issues that particular person is gonna face are directly relatable to him. If we could pull it off, I think it's great. I'm going to ask that we, as I said before, that we trust in the staff to be able to put this schedule together within the confines of what we've got laid out here. and through communication back and forth with the chairman.
And you know, maybe what we do is just suggest to the candidates, just say that if you want to get into town earlier that day, we would love to have somebody, you know, show you
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
Because
Right.
the truth is, they may not have an interview till 5 o'clock, but they may want to come down at 11.
And do a tour,
and,
yeah.
and
Make a
hang
day
out
of it,
and
yeah.
make do their own research. I think most of them probably would be doing that.
Excellent point, Denise.
Well, you
So-
know, one person who has lived here all his life and been involved in the town and would be very good if he wanted to do it would be the fire chief.
Yep, I think, yeah.
And he has the background for local and new people coming in, and he's very knowledgeable about the town. And I mean, he could
I thought you were
certainly.
gonna say Merle.
No, I wanted, and but you see, if you had the fire chief, he'd give some view of the town organization. It would be a double
Yep.
type. That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
And he's very, personable, as you all know, and that's a good person for a prospective job seeker.
Well, as you
to
can see, there's a lot of details to work out. A lot of it can be done by staff, but one of the issues that I'm facing as chair is that, for instance, on Monday, I would need to file the agenda by tomorrow.
Right.
So I'm thinking of filing kind of the agendas along.
That's right.
And then we also have a Saturday morning meeting where we could vote, anything's left on the special that we haven't voted on, just, prior to that. But in other words, kind of just file these tomorrow. I've got some rough draft agendas I've worked out. And then if we get the final details, we could file an amended agenda, but we need to meet the 48-hour deadline.
Can I make a suggestion then again? Let's, instead of naming, instead of going to excuse me, to the detail of naming the specific candidate.
Oh, I'm
it's
not.
the
I'm
list
just
of
gonna
these-
say interview slot and,
Okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be wide, just,
this,
it's
almost.
gonna be a skeleton of what's possible and then shift. When we have the details out, I'll, file an amended
So when are you
agenda.
going to call people?
Well, I think.
We'd
again,
have to
that's
start
like staff.
tomorrow, I
Or
think,
Do you,
yeah.
do you want to?
Well, we have a couple options. We can staff it here, or I've asked town council if they could staff it, which they're willing to. He's got an assistant that can do it, so it's up to us how we would prefer to handle it.
I think if you're going to extend it from the town, let's extend it from the town.
Yeah,
I
I have,
agree.
I have,
Okay, yeah,
I think
I have every
Fred,
faith in the professionalism of our staff. So.
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
but I think
I
Fred,
just didn't know what option you'd
well,
want to
you
take,
could
yeah.
be involved in calling too.
Well, I'd
Chair.
love to be involved, but,
You
at
gotta
the
work.
same
Shouldn't
time, I
like to
think
be
I
involved.
shouldn't be, because
Shouldn't be.
I want it to be fresh.
Yeah, that's
For
a
everybody,
good
and,
idea, yeah,
No, I think that makes absolute
Yeah.
sense.
yeah.
I think both Jen and Tracy are very
Yeah,
capable,
yeah.
and
They'll have this done in an hour.
So,
Yeah,
That's
they
right.
will, sure.
And these folks are anxious to accommodate, so
Yeah.
they're
Right.
sitting around
yeah,
waiting.
so
I'm
the
sure it'll all
idea,
work
so
out.
if we're in general agreement that the concept would be, they can take a tour as long as they want with whoever we can figure out who. But at some point, there'd be about an hour and 15-minute department head meeting.
Yeah, we can define when that will be.
Yeah, and then a break, and then an interview for an hour and 15 minutes, with enough break time in between that if we felt like we wanted to have an extended conversation, we could do it. And with the goal of no more than 2 on a day. And with the certain restrictions that we have here in the packet of who can do when, and just
Well-
let staff figure it out.
Well, we could give this memorandum to Tracy and Jen, because it says the restrictions of
Yeah.
when. And, but what about the questions?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think what we want to
are we
have.
finished with this, though?
Well, we'll come back to it, but
Okay.
I think what we want to have is see where, at the top of each day where it says organization. I'd like Diane's suggestion of we just spend an hour instead of a half hour on that first day.
Yeah, hour.
And just, I think we already, I mean,
We have the questions and then we
we talk
discuss.
about how to divvy
Yeah,
them up.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I understand, I don't know if it's a recommendation or it's a defined behavior that we have to ask each candidate identical questions. If it's
It's been the
defined.
practice in the
It's a
past, yeah,
practice.
yeah,
Fine,
It is
yeah.
that's
a
fine.
practice.
My point is.
Yeah.
That if that's the case, you know, I can't even remember what the movie it came from, but it was Choose Wisely, my son. Because those-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those questions are going to
Right.
be, are going to be important
Yeah,
in in the fact that they're identical for everybody.
Well,
yeah.
he suggested the beginning and the end, and we have to fill in a couple of questions in between.
Oh, I can freelance all you want, but.
Yeah.
No, I think-
No, seriously.
I think in fairness, in evaluating people, you have to ask them the same questions.
Questions.
Which is fine. That's
Yeah.
what I said. We have to choose wisely. I don't think
Yeah.
it's something that you can just say, well, you know, let's put them all in a hat, pick out a slip of paper and figure
Right.
out who's
Well,
got what.
We probably would need more organizational
Yeah.
time the first night than the other.
Yeah,
two
the very
nights.
first an
Monday.
hour should do it, and what we'll do is we'll each have a question, you know, we'll pick an order that we're gonna go in, we're gonna stick to that order, and then we'll talk about which question we'd like, and then we'd say, you know, because Steve and I may be fighting over the same question, but. So
You can ask it, I just want the follow-up.
But would agree it would come off of Mr. Kobayashi's list, right? Yeah, so it kind of like,
Or some.
or we could,
Reframe
yeah.
it of.
There are, I understand Dick's point about not being so specific
Yeah.
about things that are unique to us. But then
Right.
again, there are things that are unique to us that fit
or if there's
within
something
those
missing,
themes.
yeah, we should, yeah,
So,
go ahead.
Well, I did spend some time, Steve, thank you very much, and went through your grid.
oh,
And your questions and whatnot. And what I came up with is coming from my perspective of I like the broader questions, because I think that allows, it opens up the conversation, so we can get a better feel for the individual, and also see how do they answer the questions, and that will tell us more about them, I think. So what I did, and I'm just gonna give them out and everybody can look at them, we
Yeah.
don't have to talk about it tonight or anything. But I went through and I categorized the questions that the Collins Center had suggested to us. And I noted on them, you know, which one they were on the Collins one, so you can reference back and forth. There were some I didn't include, and that was just my preference. I think, Steve, that you'll find that the issues that you had, you know, so defined, you know, had really drilled down and defined everything, can be covered within the broad spectrum. Something that was missing was maybe human resources, which is gonna be a big
no,
issue for us.
right.
And I didn't know quite how to, I like the two issues, what are your strengths and weaknesses and how do you handle serious mistakes? But I wasn't sure how they fit in. So anyway, that's what I've done.
That's general management.
No, I know, but I
No,
just
no,
didn't know where to,
No, it's just, I mean, there can be a whole area, just call it, you know,
And then-
it's general management.
and then what I did is, I took your grid things, and I just simplified it and said, you know, if somebody's strong, it's 3 points, if they're good, it's 2 points, it's 1 point. But again, what isn't in here is, and I don't do a grid as good as you do, you know, isn't all the intangibles. So I just wanted you to know that I did take the time to go over everything that you had done and looked at it. And this is what I'm coming back with, and I don't expect, you know, I expect people to look at that and come back with their own from that too, but I wanted to also contribute.
This would be helpful for our organization. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a different way of looking at the same questions.
It's a
Yeah,
different way
yeah.
of looking at the same questions, and I just wanted to pass it out so people would have time to look at it, and, you know, and not have to,
Great.
you know, look at it that
Yeah,
same way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's an area, I'm sorry, I'm probably the world's slowest reader,
I didn't expect everybody to read here
but,
tonight. Did I miss something?
no, I'm asking, because I don't see it yet. One of the things that I see in each of these candidates is, and Mr. Kobayashi pointed it out as well, they all have more recent experience in city manager structures, typically more highly professionalized environments than we have in a town.
Well, you're a
town
faster
meeting
reader than I
structure.
am, because I haven't read the resumes yet.
Well, I mean, you go through it, it's pretty quick when you click through it. And much of the elbow grease in this town, much of the work that we end up as a body working with, budgetary items in particular, but also administration, like the sewer commission, the water department, are done either by elected officials or by volunteer committee members. So I think it's important somewhere in here that there's
It's in
gotta be,
there.
there's gotta be a question on it.
Oh, it's in
Because
there.
I don't think that I don't think that maybe these folks have had recent experience where there is that much responsibility carried out by other non-paid, non-employee members of, or stakeholders, if you
A
will.
little bit more diversification in power centers, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
the power structure is very different
Yeah.
in town
I
than in
think
form of
she
government.
has it in here, like under town.
No, again, Martha, I
Yeah.
am the world's slowest reader.
Well, so am I.
So I
have to go
um,
back and reread.
But it's like, again, it's just a suggestion, just something, you know, another, as Fred said, another way of looking at the same thing.
Well, it's very good that both you, Steve and you have done due
And could
diligence
I didn't-
on this.
I didn't bring copies, but one of the
And you've
things.
done it.
Well, no, because I figured, I didn't know whether we were gonna have this conversation or not, but one of the things that I dug up were some questions from the previous search.
Yeah,
And a
yeah.
lot of them are the same questions. They're looking for the same answers as all of these,
Mm.
but they're asked in a much more conversational tone.
Oh, interesting,
okay.
yeah.
Good.
Not
Can-
as direct. There's a
can
lot
you
of like,
s-
describe the nicest compliment anyone has ever given you. There's a lot of funny things like that. I
Well-
wouldn't advocate for that, but if you don't mind, I'm gonna just send this, I'll
That would
scan
be
it.
terrific.
Very
I'll
good.
digitally send it to everybody.
Yeah.
Like Martha, I'll make sure you get a
Yeah,
hard
good.
copy.
Thank
And
you.
just, you know, how, there's different things, you know, how would you describe the concept of strategic planning? You know, there's just different things that might help us make these questions that we already have here approach
Well,
differently
the
or
more
something.
information we have,
So
the
I'll just send
better
this out
the
to
final
everybody.
questions will be.
You know, I'm not advocating for anything in particular other than, how do you feel this job fits into your plans for the future? Well, that's kind of a personal question, which Dick, but
No, I think that's a good one.
why? Why do you wanna
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
from New York to Cohasset? I
Mm-hmm.
think those are the kinds of things we need to understand about these people without,
Is it-
but ask it in a way that it's not
what's your
delving
motivation?
too much into
Very.
the
Well,
personal.
Yeah.
But we want,
Actually, that should be for everyone, I agree, because why do you wanna come?
why here?
Yeah.
And
why
that,
here?
I think that it was one of the Collins Center
is-
intro questions.
I think what it is it's just a different way of, I like that you said that, Fred. Different way of looking at the same thing and how you ask the question to elicit the broadest answer.
Possible answer, absolutely.
So, and that's why I like having a broad question rather than having a specific question.
Absolutely.
Because I think you learn more from what a person gives you back when it's not a specific answer.
Absolutely right. And
Yeah.
it adds more questions, and those are the questions we don't have to ask, because that person's
But
gonna
they
be
may tell us
volunteering
more about
information.
themselves
Absolutely.
and their experience when we're not, asking them to think in a box.
Exactly.
Answer
Yep.
this question here.
Yep,
Well, I
That's-
appreciate these
Get the
broad
helium balloon
questions, because I
question?
tend to.
the helium balloon's a great
Specific
question,
question, and I
but it's not
don't
in here.
always.
I'm not gonna send it out.
Yeah. This is very good. Excellent.
Okay, so,
So what did we decide?
back to the schedule.
Well, I think we've decided on, these slots of an hour and 15 minutes, right? With the break, how long of a break do we want in between? Minimum 15 minutes or possibly longer, right? And we just need to be sure that, we can handle it out of town hall.
Handle it out of town hall.
The
Well, the
scheduling.
scheduling, the phone call, yeah, so.
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
So, what we're looking at is to have some type of tour. Some type of department head meeting, and then an interview with breaks in between. There's a maximum of 2 per day, over 3 days, for a total of 5. And the only other thing we need to work in is an organizational meeting at the beginning on Monday for us for an hour. And then the rest would just be up to staff to make phone calls and slot people in. And find slots that department heads are available. And the tour thing may be tricky. We need
Well,
a couple of volunteers.
Somebody could be having a tour when we're interviewing the first one for the second one. You see what I mean? So you could have two staff interviews, and this would be a double up having it here, and then have the interview up here, so you wouldn't use
Well, I think there
four.
has to be a sequence, because,
Okay,
okay, so the sequence would be like a tour. Now, you could flip the tour and the department head meeting around if you had to.
no,
But
that's
you
not what
want
I,
them-
no, that's not what I meant, I was saying.
Well, the idea of having it conversational for us was that they would have had the tour before us.
Yeah,
and
I
have-
understand
yeah,
that, but you have the conversational, and then you have the interview.
Yeah,
But you could have the second person if they have the interview when we're talking to the
Oh, yeah,
person. That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying, and have 3 slots instead of 4.
I don't know what everybody else is thinking, but I, obviously, because I agreed with Mr. Kobayashi, that I do like the idea of the department head meeting, which he pointed out would make the candidates, as experienced administrators, would be comfortable in that, and it would give them a feel for
Oh, yeah.
how the departments interact, and rather than, excuse me, piecemeal.
Yeah, I mean, Fred, if it's a matter of, literally arranging this with Jen and Tracy and the like,
That's right.
as long as they don't mind communicating with me by phone, I'm happy to take it on.
Oh,
So
okay.
that it
All right.
gets, the
well, I'm
time
available
gets
for that
allocated
also.
properly.
I want to make sure
No,
that people, that
think it's-
we're all clear on what we
No, I think it's good that
expect.
Fred
The
does it.
goals, the goals, as I'm hearing, is the candidate, it should be offered and hopefully will accept the possibility of touring the town.
Yeah,
Part of the interview process, they will understand, is meeting without specific agenda with department heads and the like. And then the formal interview, and we can lay that out for them in a, literally send them an agenda for their interview, if you will. It's just, I mean, it's a welcoming agenda. Here's what you have going on. When you come into town, please meet us at Town Hall. You'll meet so-and-so who will.
The chief will squire you around town.
Right,
I
and you're
think-
gonna
I
be
think
planning
it
on
should be
touring
the
town for
chair.
45 minutes, seeing some of the sights and.
I did
you know,
like Diane's suggestion of asking them to come in earlier.
Early, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we need to
Right.
either babysit them
No, they
straight
can
through.
come in
It's gonna be
everything.
impossible, I
Impossible,
think,
yeah.
Yeah.
given nighttime, and
Yeah.
so,
The other thing is,
I do
the
like
proximity of Town Hall to the common, to the village, gives them a chance to walk around a bit, so long as they're not having a nor'easter. They'll probably enjoy that.
that could happen too. We need to be prepared.
And no, I think Fred, being chair, should, and I respect your point of view, but I think since we all focus with the chair, it's easier to do it that way. And if we have a question, we can talk to the chair. I mean, I always do that myself. And I think the candidates would expect the chair of a board to be involved, so.
Well, I think we should just, I have every confidence in Tracy and Jen, and
And,
just
yeah.
turn it over to them and say, make it happen.
do you have any questions, or is it pretty clear?
I just need to see it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Do you want one
You
here?
mean you didn't keep it straight as we talked about it?
No, I did.
I kind of.
She's joking.
Just kidding.
You have two.
Thank you.
She is, hers is better.
Does that make sense to you, Tracy?
Okay,
Check the tape, Tracy.
yeah.
Yeah, and then as long as I have the names and the contacts and.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have all that on
That-
the disc?
That, it's all on the disc there, and so,
It's on the disc, or would you like the sheet too?
So the only thing then is that, the tours, if they would like to take a tour, then we would invite them to come into the town earlier.
And we'll
Or-
find somebody for them.
Or if they can come in earlier in the day, well, we can't because Steve and Fred are working.
I mean, you want
Well,
daylight for the tour.
Daylight for the tour.
Well, that's the other question, especially
That's outside of
for
us.
those that work in
That's
Boston.
outside of that.
What's the
That's-
earliest
That can be,
this would start on
Yeah.
an interview, yeah, for,
well,
Wednesday's more open for me.
it is.
I've got to be in the office Tuesday morning. I can't avoid that.
So we can have people Tuesday afternoon then?
Well, again, the
Yeah.
schedule as it exists, I can
You can
accommodate.
do that?
But if,
well, do you want to try to knock out the early slot on Wednesday?
yeah, what I'm driving at, Fred, is if
Yeah.
we know right now that there's one day that we're gonna push earlier than another, let's figure out what it is.
Well,
So Wednesday, for instance, I'd have more flexibility throughout the entirety of the day.
Okay.
Tuesday, I don't.
oh, okay, all right.
So
So in other words, Tuesday after, late in the evening would be one,
well, I think
It'd
Steve
be
is saying
all
that
right.
if we started at 3:30, that would work for you on each of the days?
not.
No, Wednesday was definitely easier.
Wednesdays, definitely.
As the schedule exists today, I can meet this schedule.
Just
If we
3:30
need
each
to
day.
rearrange it, or you're looking to expand it in one day or another, Wednesday is the more flexible day for me to
Yeah,
expand.
okay.
So you
Wednesday.
could conceivably do a 2 o'clock.
I could conceivably do it too. I have the capability of
Right.
working out of my house. The sad part is that my entire calendar at the office lives only at the office, because
What about this?
I can't, I'm in such a highly regulated business,
Yeah.
I can't
Oh,
share
yeah.
anything
Yeah.
with myself.
No, I know.
So, I can't tell you,
It's crazy.
I can't tell you I can't remember that far.
Oh.
But I do know that Wednesday is more flexible. It's very
Okay.
possible that the other days are too. And I'm happy to accommodate where I can. I just know that Tuesday morning I have to be in the office.
Yeah.
Okay. Fred, are you?
Steve?
I can be flexible. I'm thinking, should we just say 4 o'clock Monday, we'll have the organizational meeting for an hour?
4 o'clock.
Sure.
And if that turns out that the interviews aren't gonna start until later, we can move it to 5 or something, but, let's just block out 1 hour at 4 Monday for getting organized with our questions. And any other logistical stuff we have to do. Then the rest will leave up to how it goes with the phone calls and scheduling.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, I think, we
Then
have,
you can
any
work on
questions?
Yeah, that's fine. On working on a tour earlier, if they wanted to have a tour, it could be somebody that, and it didn't have to be the fire chief, I just knew he knew the town.
I think
Yeah, it
it's-
gets dark so early now.
Yeah,
It's almost
you-
like you have to
Possible
come,
early.
start
It would have to
early,
be-
yeah.
it would have to
and
be
then-
2
and
o'clock
have more of a break
earliest.
in between, yeah.
Yeah,
But again, if they're willing to do that, first of all,
Yeah.
think about it. That's,
yeah.
my original objective was to come out of this first series of interviews being ready to make a cut,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Yeah.
You get someone who says, thanks very much for the tour, but I just really want to talk to the department heads. Well, that's nice, but it begins to tell you something. Aren't you interested in what the town looks like?
Yeah,
Don't you want to go
yeah.
knock around, see what
Every
the local
little
businesses
thing.
are,
Mhm.
right? So that's telling on its own. Yes, we'd like to arrange a tour. No, I won't be able to make that, but I will be able to make the interview. Well, for me, that raises the
Perspective.
bar for that particular candidate.
If maybe somebody couldn't make the tour that day,
Fine.
but they might be willing to come on a weekend or
And I
something.
think we should be willing to accommodate that.
Right,
Yeah.
that's it. If they want a tour, we'll
Yeah.
figure out a way to
And we can
accommodate. with-
figure different people.
Yeah, if someone
Right.
wants to make a second trip back, I'm happy to hear that.
Right.
So,
And a lot of them probably will. I mean, they'll
Yeah.
probably be doing that on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Rhode Island
Maybe
isn't
not
that
there,
far
I was just
away.
gonna say, but yeah, Rhode Island isn't bad.
Well, that's what I'm wondering if any of them have been wandering around.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
first of all, I have to find it.
You
Can't
have
get
to
there from
find it.
here.
I know when I first moved down here, they missed the break and ended up down in the Cape.
Okay, so, everybody's got some homework to do as far as figuring out the questions, and, we'll deal with that at, right now tentatively Monday at 4. And, we'll just keep abreast of how the scheduling's going, and you keep us informed by email, yeah, yeah. Or you can, yeah, anything you need decisions with, you can deal with me, but if it's, once we get this, everything set, we'll just email it to everybody. Yeah, tomorrow I'm just gonna post everything in kind of a skeleton form, so that we've, no question about meeting the 48-hour deadline. Then as we get, more solid information, I'll modify it, okay? Anything else we need to discuss on this?
No.
Okay, Selectmen comment period. Martha?
Pass for a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
Excuse me, nothing.
Diane?
I'm gonna steal some of Steve's thunder, just to congratulate the boys soccer team, high school soccer team who are gonna be in the state championship
Oh, great.
in their division on, I believe the game's Saturday. So my son was a member of that team for many years, so I know a lot of these boys, and I'm very proud of them and their coaching staff. And
Excellent.
you wanna do football?
Football team rolls on.
They're also in the playoffs.
Football team rolls on. As a matter of fact, I believe they survived a scare with Blue Hill, but move on now. I believe this is the championship game, the sectional championship game.
Sectional. Yep.
Sectional.
Yeah.
This
That's
Friday
great.
night.
Fred,
And
I
Mike, do you have
give
any
copy.
Yeah.
updates from the sauce-off? The Elder Affairs sauce-off was today at 4.
I do not.
Martha, you had something?
Several of us went to the Veterans Day program on Monday at 11 o'clock, and it was rather chilly, but it was very nice. And what strikes me most on all of these veterans programs, how many veterans we get and townspeople come. And, you know, through the years, we're a small town, but we get a high percentage when you think of who show up. And it was a very nice program, and I really enjoyed it, and I know everybody else did.
Can we just thank Tom and Dee
Tom.
Wigmore,
Oh,
who,
yes.
Yeah.
that's because people
Absolutely.
come here because they do it right.
Oh,
They-
Yeah.
right.
So
They do
it's
do
really
it right.
wonderful.
And they give you information beforehand, so you know, you get your sheet several weeks ahead, and you can plan. And they're very good. Yeah, I agree with you.
If I'm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, while we're talking about the young lady who won the essay contest,
Yeah.
not only, it's a little difficult to hear with the wind blowing, but she did a great job. The essay was great, and she was so poised in the presentation. It was quite a great performance by her.
Yeah, it was a good turnout, not as big as Memorial Day,
No.
but,
But it's the first one, it'll get bigger.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else, Martha?
No.
Okay. I just want to mention that several of us did make it to Hingham to the flood insurance FEMA meeting with Congressman Lynch, and I did stay afterwards for the public part, and there was a lot of discussion. Obviously, the surrounding towns seem to be impacted a lot more than we are, but just in case anybody in Cohasset is impacted, Congressman Lynch's office is more than happy to help you work through your issues with the insurance companies. And there is legislation pending that is trying to slow down this whole increase, and because apparently there's some inconsistencies with how FEMA is mapping by state, so there's a lot of differences going on, and so a lot of concerns around that. So if you're not sure how to get in touch with Congressman Lynch's office, just call Town Hall. Thank you. Okay,
Steve?
Hmm.
Anything?
I already did.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
yeah, yeah, no,
you
we've already been around, yeah.
Okay.
We could go around another time.
Pretty memorable, wasn't it?
Go around a time, another time.
It's so
Yeah.
early, we don't know what to do.
I know it, yeah.
Round and wear it.
Okay, so, public comment. Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, just before we go to public
Yeah.
comment, I did get a request from our license enforcement officer, and let me read this to
Yeah.
you. And this was to the chief, and I'm going to pass out the memo in a second. As you're aware, 16 days have elapsed since my initial, this is from Detective Lieutenant Greg Lennon. As you're aware, 16 days have elapsed since my initial request to the Red Lions legal counsel to facilitate the interview of the appropriate Red Lion Inn employees and the inspection of relevant documents related to the date of the alleged violation. It is apparent to me that the Red Lion management is not taking the alleged violation seriously, nor are they taking any measures to cooperate with the investigation being conducted on behalf of the town's licensing board, the Board of Selectmen. As a result, I'm recommending that the Board of Selectmen immediately suspend the Red Lions Inn's entertainment license and keep said license suspended until the Red Lion Inn provides the requested information and until the investigation is complete. In that certain follow-up requests for information may be required after the information request on October 18th is received and reviewed. I did speak to town council, and town council's recommendation is that you give the Red Lion Inn a 7 days notice before you suspend the entertainment license. I do recommend that the board schedule a hearing in 7 days to request that be done. Hopefully, that will be enough emphasis to get all the interviews done, and then you won't have to have that hearing. But it's been 16 days without getting the appropriate response. In addition to that, I'm going to be passing around another disturbance that happened at the Red Lion Inn this past weekend with 2 employees where the police had to come in and there is a felony criminal charge that is pending with one of the staff members. So again, my recommendation is I concur with Detective Lieutenant Greg Lennon that you do go forward and schedule a hearing following town council's advice within 7 days, give them proper notice, and if all of his information is answered before the 7 days, then you can cancel the hearing. But if he doesn't have that within the 7 days, then to go forward with the hearing for immediate suspension.
Is that 7 business days?
It's 7 days, 7 calendar days.
Mike, would you mind, that, thank you. Oh, is this Detective Lennon?
That's Detective Lennon's
This is.
document, yep. And this is followed by the alcohol issue that happened this weekend.
Okay.
So again, as
This
the
is
licensing board,
This is appropriate law.
that's the appropriate law that's cited. So again, I'm not asking you to suspend the license at this point. I'm asking you to schedule a hearing to suspend the entertainment license in an effort to get the cooperation that the detective lieutenant is requesting. If he does not receive that information by the time you schedule this hearing, then at that time, the request would be to go forward with the hearing.
So, Mike, I just want to make sure I understand it. You're using the hearing date as the lever, and our job would be to be, at the moment, you're asking that we schedule the hearing date.
Correct.
Thank you.
Based upon the recommendation of the police
Right,
department.
right.
Which you'll find that is item number 11.
what?
11 and 12.
I'd actually propose to be even more magnanimous than that, given our schedule.
Yeah,
8 days?
No.
I mean,
8 days.
well, we would be sending out a notice to them saying that they have 7 days to respond to
Wait,
the inquiry?
Notice of hearing, which could be canceled by, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the
Well-
word I'm trying to use, by supplying the
Information,
investigating
yeah.
officer with the information requested.
So basically, it would say we're giving you notice that you have X amount of time,
Right.
if we're generous,
Otherwise, show up for this hearing.
otherwise be here for the hearing.
And let me just
Okay.
clarify,
Calendar?
technically, you're calling the hearing, but the understanding is if you get all the information prior to the hearing that the detective lieutenant is comfortable with, then you'll cancel the hearing while he continues the investigation. If he does not receive that information, then you would have to have that hearing that evening.
Well, where are we? We're on the, wait a minute. So, I mean, by the time I got a letter and it got out, oh, come on, I hate this calendar. It looks like we would possibly be in the Thanksgiving week.
No, you could actually technically have the hearing on the 21st.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at, I'm in the wrong week.
I think
The
Fred,
21st?
I think Fred is already not available, that's why we're
Yeah,
not gonna
that's,
have.
yeah, I'm not available that night.
So that's the earliest you could have it, is the 21st.
And,
So then the following Monday.
25th.
Well, is anybody available on that Tuesday?
Which is what, the 26th?
26th.
Yes.
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 Wait a minute, I'm looking. Yeah, I'm available the 26th, but not the 27th.
Do we have a meeting scheduled for the 26th?
No.
We do
No?
not.
No,
Okay.
no, nothing.
So we could do that. Have a meeting on the 26th if there's no response?
And it would just simply be on this matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you read this alcohol report, you're going to want to have one on this too. But you can schedule that at your next meeting, once you get a chance to review this, and that would still give you time to meet the deadline for mailing something out. So I would ask that you review this other piece.
Okay, so you need
Yeah,
to,
I mean,
you need to prepare something for my signature?
Correct.
Yeah,
And then we'll have it on the 26th at 7 PM,
yeah.
7:10 or something.
well, I mean, how does that affect any potential second interviews and?
Well, we could do
We'll
it.
have to work,
we could
we'll have
do
to
If
work
we
around
have
it.
that meeting scheduled on the 26th, then maybe we could do some second interview.
Well, we could, yeah. Either before or
Excuse me.
after, depending on the
On the
time.
hearing, yeah.
Okay.
We could do that.
I mean, I'm just
the-
really focused on the most important
Yeah,
thing here.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's a
yeah.
good question.
Well,
Hopefully, we'll get the
I mean, not that
information we're
not
looking
that this isn't
for.
important, Steve,
Yeah.
I don't mean to imply that.
one of the things to keep in mind, again, go back to Mr. Kobayashi just having left. Take the time to do it right. This is one item. We, as a board, still have our duties that they can't be cast aside.
Mhm.
And so I respectfully suggest that this is an item that needs to be scheduled. Second interviews, again, we can't presume that the candidates themselves
Mm.
are going to be available that
true.
following week.
Right.
It's true.
That
So,
should be one of the
let's-
questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, so let's move along with that and recognize that that may require extra time, scheduling flexibility and the like, but this has to be addressed.
Well, I agree with you on the hearing, but we could also tentatively, we could have it there in case, you know.
Well, that's the
we didn't-
scheduling
yeah,
flexibility
yeah.
part.
And if the Red Lion decides to do,
Let's hope we don't have to
comply.
have a meeting.
yeah,
We don't have to
yeah,
meet.
well, we could post a meeting for that day anyways, and then we can see after we have the interviews, it may be obvious what we might want to do.
Well, I think Wednesday night at the end of the interviews, there'll be opportunity for us to have a discussion.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
Find the next steps.
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Maybe you should
that's
put
good.
that on the,
It's already.
oh, it's already
yeah.
there.
Yeah, it's already there, you've already got that,
You're way ahead of us.
yeah.
Okay.
And just while we're
Yeah.
talking schedules and
Yeah.
looking at calendars, we will entertain recommendations on the articles that have yet to be recommended?
Tomorrow night.
Well,
Aren't we
tomorrow
going
night
to the
is
advisory
advisory.
board?
No,
Right.
well, what I had done is next week is really busy, so I've booked half an hour before the special town meeting for a selectman meeting,
Okay.
Oh,
so that we
okay.
can just do whatever we have to vote. We'll have all the
Well,
information we
I
need.
plan,
Okay.
as I'm liaison anyways to the advisory board, I plan to go to their meeting tomorrow night.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'll take notes. Okay.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, okay. They're always great meetings.
Are we gonna have capital budget come in on the water sewer, or?
They're gonna be there.
I think we're just gonna have to find out what their recommendations are and have everything in front of us Saturday morning. I mean, we do have, but it really depends on, you know, how these things slot out. And,
Yeah, I know.
you know,
Well, so we can at
right
least
now,
get-
it's just, it's
Get
too.
some kind of written
y-
report
y-
from them, or as to what their recommendations are?
Let's see how
advisory-
things slot out. We may have time Tuesday
Yeah.
to do all this
Yeah.
stuff, you know,
Right.
Okay.
but right now, we don't
But if it's
know.
not on the agenda, we can.
No, I'll,
Okay.
you know,
Might as well include it, and then we
Yeah.
can take it off.
yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Better than adding something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So,
I- But I will take copious notes
yeah,
and, tomorrow night. So I
Okay.
plan to go at 7.
excellent.
Okay.
Okay,
As do I, Martha.
public comment?
I'm planning to go tomorrow night.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
So second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okey dokey.